All right, thank you. Thanks to everyone for being here on this cool December. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And my watch is dead, so you can tell me what time it is. 5:09 on December 11th. We want to welcome everyone to the African American Equity Restoration Task Force December meeting, and I would like to ask Tiffany to do a roll call, please.
All right, everybody here, right? Yeah, cool. All right, we got Mr. Matthew Best.
Here.
Ms. Nisha Fitzgerald Baker.
Here.
Mr. Brandon Harden. Ms. Wendy McKenzie. Mr. Dave Miller. Dr. Bill Lyons.
Here.
Anderson Olds. Mr. Gina Olam. Ms. Deborah Porter. Here. Zane Taylor.
Here.
And Mr. George Underwood.
All right, so now that we have a forum, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of November 13th meeting. I can get a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. And now we'll go right into our staff report. So I'd like to recognize Tiffany Toombs to provide a staff report, please.
Cool. Alrighty. So I guess we will first start with an update from the state, well, regarding the State of Black Knox report. Okay, there we go. So I gave you all a little sheet of paper. It looks like this. I recently heard back from the representative that we have with the Atlanta Feds, and he gave me this detailed list below that shows all of the information that he can pull for us. The beautiful thing is that this information will kind of co-align with some of the information that I'll be presenting earlier or later today. But feel free to look through some of these topic points. And if there are any pieces that you have questions about or concerns, feel free to bring it to my attention. Feel free to send me an email, etc. I know that he's collecting most of this information from through the census or the American Community Survey. Most of that data goes until 2021. But that is the most recent data as of now. There are a few more pieces that are newly added to add into the scope. Essentially what he's going to do is take these data topics, find the numbers and the data that coincides with it, and he'll send it to me as a PowerPoint to be included in the report. So that's the first piece of information that I want to share with you all. The next piece is regarding, again, the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank. When we were in Atlanta for our last conference, I made sure to speak with a few of the representatives regarding the CDFI conversation that we had a few months prior. And so we are working on the details of that. They're actually coming to Knoxville to be able to lay out for us in particular what opportunities are available. So I'll be able to share more details with you all as they become available. So I believe that concludes the staff report.
All right, well, thank you, Tiffany. And so we'll go to committee reports. And when we met last, members of the task force discussed information about the census data tracks as well, and trying to determine what pieces would be relevant and align with our anticipated strategic plan. So we do and plan to review, and we've looked at the revisions, and we'd like to get this finalized by the end of the year. First, I'd like to ask if any task members have any comments or anything to share. If you've had a chance to look at our latest document, which kind of aligns our strategic plan, our goals. Any comments about that or any more input? So it looks like we're on track then to get to the final stages, and I will share our next steps will be to identify these ad hoc or supporting committees and subject matter experts that will contribute to the goals of each of these buckets that we've identified. But we'll go ahead now and ask for our guest speakers. We have a couple presenters here today. Now, one of them, and I think it's Sheridan.
Yeah, she's the one that's sick.
Okay,
She will not be here.
She's unable to make it, but she does plan to meet with us in the future. So we have Aubrey Welling from Knoxville, Knox County. Welcome. Thank you. Yes, you may come up.
How to use this?
Yeah. This is.
There we go. Thank you.
Got a microphone up here. I'm gonna be projecting.
Thank you all so much for having me. I'm Aubrey Weiland. I'm from Knoxville, Knox County Planning, and I was asked to come in here and talk to you guys a little bit about what kind of data is available to you and also what kind of work we do, and sort of give you some good data stewardship, basically. Knoxville, Knox County Planning has 3 different divisions, so if you're wondering why there's a planner here, I'm not a planner. I'm from Information Services. We provide support to the city, the county, and all of our private and public partners. We also give information to members of the public. We have a planning services team that are the planners. We also have transportation planning, which is for the whole region. And then information services like me, who do communication, public outreach. We also make all sorts of data tools for interactive and online use. I specifically do mostly support data stewardship and geography. I support, like I said, our local and private, local, public, and private partners. Data stewardship, by that I mean both making sure that all of our data is up to date and the right data sources. I also help make sure that other people are using the most current data, they're using the right data source for them, and that they're interpreting it correctly so we can make sure that all of the best decisions are made with the best data available. I'm also a geographer, that's what my degree is in. I might like you to know that I don't just make maps, I also do the science of geography, which is the science of where. So I am in the business of telling the story of what is happening, where, and sometimes why. Help make some of these tools or maintain them. All of these are hyperlinks, so when you get this PowerPoint later, you'll be able to access these tools on your own. They should all be very user-friendly, that is the goal. We have ACS Explorer. So ACS is that American Community Survey that Tiffany had mentioned that has come up in the papers that we were talking about. So the American Community Survey is a product produced by the U.S. Census Bureau that comes out every year. The most recent data set just came out last Thursday, so it's 3 business days old, and that is the 2017 or 2018 to 2022 data that will be available for you whenever your partner gets to you about this data of Black Knoxville. We also have the panorama, which is what this dashboard is from. It's a series of dashboards that give mostly ACS data, but some other data sources, and present it in a more digestible way. You can find what you're looking for more easily. And they're all interactive, which is very cool. And then Groundbreakers, where we show some of the big developments that are happening within the county. If we have time, I can also show you a couple of these later. I also make several reports. These are all on our website. And I also have a couple of copies for you to read if you'd like. Some of our reports come out every year, and some of them are more one-off. Things like the facts and figures are about our local culture. That's updated every year. Development activity, developments that happened within the past year. And then things like priority populations, which is a one-off technical report, where I talked about the story of different patterns and conditions throughout the region. We talk about that kind of story. I have heard that your focus points are homeownership, small businesses, and workforce equity. So I thought we put together a really quick story for this. You can see what kind of data points we have available and how quick it is to do this. This is using a tool called Policy Map that I do link, that I know Tiffany had mentioned when you guys were looking into what data sources are available. So this image that I have up here is the distribution of median value of homeowner-occupied homes. The darker areas are higher value, and the lighter areas are lower value, just for homeowners, not renters. And I thought, what other information do we know about these areas? They were all redlined. So this particular region had historically been redlined. And if we look at the areas that were, seen as less desirable, those are a lot of the areas that have lower home values now. That's a really quick story we could put together with this kind of data. This is not particularly relevant, but this is our American Community Survey Explorer and a quick example of how you can find what kind of data is available to you using one of our tools very, very quickly. We have kind of collected all of the greatest hits, some of those tables that are most desirable for people to use for their reports and their work, and you'll be able to go through them very quickly. These are some other resources that I've mentioned. So data.census.gov has ACS data very quick, and it's getting a little bit more accessible for everyone to use. Our website has multiple tools that we have made, and then Policy Map is also on here. So I'm just going to quickly show you the ACS Explorer, if that's all right.
And you're going to send this presentation out?
Yes, or I'll get it out to the end.
Okay, and you have a copy for it?
So this is our ACS Explorer. I really encourage anyone to use it if they want to find quick census information without having to go through the Census Bureau website or a sketchy third-party website, which there are many. It really is just these steps. Select the year. This one will be loaded in the next week or so. We'll put in 2021, 5-year, and then Knoxville and Knox County. These are the properties that we have available. And these are those topics that I pulled up. Let's pull up home value. And so this is pulling data directly from the Census Bureau website, and it just reports it in a much quicker way than just rolling through their tools. If you hover over it, it'll give you the margin of error, the exact number that you're looking at. And if you click on one of these items, I just clicked on one of these on the left, they pull up an annual time series for that specific number. So I just clicked on the value less than $10,000. These are that number over time. That was all that I had planned on because I didn't know how much time there would be. I can answer any questions or go into further detail as desired.
So I want to choose a different topic just because I want a quick peek for continuing conversation on the group of workers.
Yeah.
And work status and yeah.
When it shows up and there aren't a whole bunch of rows, click on Show All Data. That just is because this is collapsed. That's an important thing about it. Oh, and you can export this to something that you could open in Excel. You can also just click on the previous year and it will take you to the year before, whatever other information we have for it.
Thank you. Does anyone else from the task force have a question?
Yeah, I've used this data a lot. I think this is a great entry point for it. I've used it directly in the census more. But one thing that I think is frustrating is this 5-year and 1 year. The sample size is awful small in 1 year. But did they aggregate them? What did they kick out the oldest year and bring in a new year, kind of a rolling average? Because people have gone to the 1 years and the data jump around a lot.
Yes, it does.
And you have to sort of like, well, which year are you talking to? So would you recommend us sticking to the 5 year generally? I mean, are you comfortable given that there's not that many people that, that are sampled and you've got a lot more error in the 1 year?
We use 1 year whenever it's feasible, but when we're talking about specific small communities like East Knoxville, that's very frequently what I get questions about. that's only available in 5 years, and it's only ever going to be available in 5 years, as far as we know, as far as ACS has ever been planned. So if you wanted all of Knoxville, you could use 1 year for that for just about anything. But census tracts are what's needed for a lot of conversations about smaller neighborhood level conversation, and that has to be 5 year, unfortunately. I have definitely seen some confusion with whether you can use, subsequent years for 5 year, how easy that is to manipulate, and it's a little bit harder. So that's why you kind of need a data steward to help you out with that.
Some of the poverty data I thought was available with 1 year.
Some of the poverty might be for 5 year, but typically if it's smaller than like a town, like Beavergate often doesn't have 1 year data. So if it's smaller than its own town, it typically has to be 5 year. There's information about what that population cutoff is here. I don't remember off the top of my head. 65,000 population is the cutoff for that. Any other questions? Tiffany will have my contact information. Please email me if you ever have any data questions. And actually, if you have a question about the census data point, we are legally obligated to answer your questions. So I'm literally happy to help. Please contact me. And like I said, all these resources will be given to you.
Thank you so much. First, I also want to thank you for taking the time to make all of this happen, right? For those who've worked with census tracts and you see how layered everything is, Aubrey's been such an amazing help, even with the list that I shared with you all at our committee meetings. Aubrey was there to help for all of it. And so I'm just really thankful for her. I'm looking forward to continue to work with you in the future regarding future projects, and just making sure that we have the data piece to the story, right? That's in terms of the change that we're talking about, both are essential and critical to moving the needle. So I just want to thank you so much. Thank you for your time and for sharing these great resources with us.
And I had paper stuff right over here.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, yes. One, I found the two. You'll be hearing from me. My name is Tanisha Baker, so I just want to make sure that this is getting down. But I'm imagining then that we could utilize the tools she provided and the data to align with the Black Knoxville report, to align with this.
Following, yes, ma'am.
Very good, like that. Very good. And so, one more thing then, because you mentioned it a few times, being able to tell the story. And I'm a big fan of a data story. And so, any contributions that you have for us to help us communicate our story with the attached data is great. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so next we're going to have our business and announcements, and we're going to actually put up for vote the strategic framework. And I'd like a motion, if everyone's reviewed it, one last call for comment before we approve this strategic framework, which will go into effect January 1. Did I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Hey, I'm sorry, say it
Yeah, they gotta be rocking.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
We're so great, sorry.
It made me smile. Thank you. So the economic mobility grant opportunities from Bank of America, Tiffany, can you share a little bit about that and where we are?
Okay, we'll be sure to talk about it next time, for our next meeting, so we'll get it for you.
Okay, we'll be, no worries. And then December committee meetings will be canceled due to the holidays, and we'll reconvene those in January 15th exactly. If any,
January 8th, sorry, that's the date of the
15th.
Yeah, so it's later on the agenda, but we can go ahead and press forward for a second. So originally, the task force meeting is scheduled for January the 8th, but because we are not meeting for the committees this month due to the holidays, I made a suggestion that the committees meet on January the 8th, and then we will postpone the task force meeting until February the 12th. So, sorry.
All right, no, you try to make it as clear as possible to me.
Okay.
So, January 8th will be committee meetings, and then we'll resume our regularly scheduled task force meeting on February the 12th.
Correct.
At 5 p.m.
Yes. Sorry.
And I will,
Yes.
do we have any announcements from task force meetings?
Yes. This is December, January the 5th through the 15th, MLK week. And Roland Martin will be the speaker for the luncheon, which is January 11th, and it has been renamed to the Thomas Hank Strickland Legacy Luncheon. So that will be at UT. I'll get more information out. I'm sure several of you got the information already, but we'll send it out to the task force specifically. And that's the meeting, the luncheon, of course, but there are activities. January 5th is the Gallery of Arts with Evelyn Jack singing at the Emporium. Then the 10th is the interfaith service at London Singing at 12 noon. The luncheon will be 11th and 12th is the community forum. And 13th is the youth symposium. 14th is the Night of Arts at UT, and then the 15th is the memorial service at OpenSea. And of course, we will not have a parade on January 15th because we do the Juneteenth parade in June. So that's just a quick and dirty of the activities.
Thank you for sharing, and I've seen bits and pieces on social media, and I've been pushing it out to my pages. Is there one comprehensive list already? If you will, if you have a flyer or post or that you send out.
We have a holiday flyer, and then I can just send that out to you, but the holiday flyer won't be out until Thursday.
Okay.
Officially, but I can send it.
Hey, sorry, as it relates to the MLK event, does the task force want to do a sponsorship for that event? Because if so, we probably need to go ahead and pass a vote for that to happen, just with consideration to the holidays. The city has always sponsored the event to some degree in the past, but separate from that, is that something that you guys want to do, or you guys are going to talk about it?
So, yeah, I think a couple of things. If the city is sponsoring a table, either we can ask for representation at that table, or, because I wonder if many of us will not already be there.
Yeah.
Well, and that was my question, because I know kind of like the August 8th, we did I think we did a sponsorship, but most of you all already had tickets, and so we were just kind of trying to figure out what to do with the tickets. I don't know if you all are selling ads separately, because we do have, so the city, as you mentioned, has done a sponsorship. We can work it out so that if you need a ticket, we can make space at the city tables, because I think we have 3. With the sponsorship that we did, I think we have 3 tables. And so, but if there's opportunity, the task force wants to have like an ad or something, I don't know what your options
It
are.
might be good for the task force to take out an ad, because if the city has 3 tables,
Right.
you probably won't fill them up with your vote, not only the city, but the task force members as well. But a full page ad that you have to send to me directly, because we're down to our studio would be $175 for just a full page.
So I'm,
This is what I do on
yeah.
special events.
I want, when we do a sponsorship, something with a naming opportunity for it, so that would be the ad. Are there or any of the other events, sponsorships or?
No, once you do a sponsorship, the sponsorship is for the luncheon, basically.
Okay.
And the least that we can do is the bronze, which is $500. But here again, if the city is asking us to sit on one of the tables, then of course it would probably be good just to do an ad and get that information out there about who we are.
Do we need a motion then? A motion to provide an ad in support of the MLK luncheon?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Perfect. And so Tiffany, will you work to get that ad sent over? And I imagine we can use elements from our brochure. Perfect. Okay.
And just send it directly to my email. So, thank you.
Any other announcements?
Yeah, there's one more. On December the 14th at 11 a.m., there will be a ribbon cutting at the Morningside Park Playground. If you'd like to attend, are there any additional details about that?
I plan to attend. I did talk with Cheryl. And so anyone that can show up for a little bit, that would be great. Also on December 14th is the annual Winter Wonderland. Would love for task force members to come and support this event. Initially it started when we noticed that communities kind of kicked off their holiday season with some type of festivity, lighting up a tree, park, and we really didn't have anything like that in East Knoxville. This is our 10th anniversary of Winter Wonderland. So we have, if you go by Hardy Park now, you'll see the trees lit. You'll see trees already decorated for the contest, but on Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 at the YWCA, Phyllis Wheatley, we will have our actual event. And that is pretty laid back, but we will have community tables set up if anyone's available to share information from the African American Equity Task Force. That would be super awesome. We will have entertainment, food, refreshments, a little heavier than refreshments, and treats for the kids. So we're really looking forward to this 10th event. And again, if you need more information, just let me know. But we do plan whether we have a representative from the task force able to come or not. I'm going to piggyback and make sure our brochures are available for those that attend. Any other announcements?
Sorry, I missed the ribbon cutting is where now?
Morningside, 11 a.m.
Steph, did you want to mention Christmas in Burlington?
Oh, thank you. Excuse me. Christmas in Burlington, December the 16th, this Saturday coming, 12 noon to 5 p.m. We will have resource vendors there at the church, Great Warner. We'll have vendor, food truck vendors, retail vendors. Santa will be taking pictures with the kids and the big kids as well at the gathering spot now, Cafe Royale. And all that is happening this Saturday, 12 to 5, in the Burlington community. So the music from 1 to 3, Barry, Great Warner, dancers. We're just hoping that it will make it a festive occasion, as always. But the weather's looking real nice, so we're hoping that we'll have foot traffic.
So in Burlington, is a lot of it's outside or
Well,
building?
resource vendors are inside, and retail vendors will be at the gathering spot now.
Okay.
And Santa will be there too, but there will be a couple that probably will have retail vendors on the outside.
Okay. All right. So we hit the Burlington area, you'll see.
And the trucks will be, and mammograms will be on that day as well. So those trucks will be in the parking lot of Great Warner. Thank you for the
All right. Anything else? Do we have any members signed up for public forum? No? All right. Well, in that case, I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting. All right. Was I supposed to take a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sure. Yeah.
Second.
You don't have to, when you run out of stuff on the agenda, you can't just close the meeting. But you can take a vote if you want to, that's absolutely.
Oh, no, we can just adjourn. Thank you all, happy holidays, and I look forward to seeing you all again in January.